Black beauty, black power, black strength. Our history today, yesterday, and tomorrow. The first Black American, the first African American, the first male, the first woman of color, the first Black American woman, the first woman of color, the first woman, the first Black, the first. See, that first implicitly points out the limitations Black people were previously subject to. So while we celebrate the present, in order to attain more and greater for the future, we must keep in the forefront the past, as that was the first. They were the first. The first. The beginning. African American history began when 20 Africans were beaten, stolen, and shackled and placed on a ship. And brought across the Atlantic Ocean, dropped in the English colony of Virginia in 1619. They were servants who were bound to an employer for a limited number of years. Blacks were documented into slavery in Virginia in 1661 and then in all the English colonies by 1750. They were considered inferior race, forced to work on farmlands in the New World. They were sold as merchandise on a slave ship across the Atlantic Ocean to the West Indies, to the Caribbean. At least 1/6 of them died during the journey due to shock, disease, and suicide. Others were whipped until their skin fell off, shackled, beaten, raped, both men, women, and children. Why we celebrate? From 1 week of celebration, known then as Negro History Week, which started in 1926 by historian Carter G. Woodson, to coincide with the birthday of Abraham Lincoln, February 12th, and Frederick Douglass, February 14th, two prominent figures that played a part in our history. Fast forward 95 years later, today a new tradition of 28 Days of Honor, which was official in 1976 by President Gerald Ford when he said this: "This is the time to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every era endeavor throughout our history." So yes, be reminded to celebrate daily those in your neighborhood, your community that makes a difference, because being Black, celebrating Black, is all day, every day. 1964, the Civil Rights Movement and the Church.
50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
Many shy away from learning Black history because it puts the ugly truth of racism full on display. Racism, the key backdrop of America. Yet, all we want is a state and the quality of the ideal of being just, impartial and fair, fairness and justice.
We feel that the problem, number one, of the Black man in America is beyond America's ability to solve. It's a human problem, not an American problem or a Negro problem.
If it is the law of the land, then the demonstrators are within the law, and the discriminators are against the law.
Let freedom reign. Let freedom reign from that last, free at last. Thank God Almighty.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Demonstrations, protests brought racism to the forefront of our national discourse. But the Black Lives Matter rally cry is a response to a deep-rooted history, a history of being dehumanized and devalued. As James Baldwin once said, the story of a Negro, a Black man in America, is a story of America, and it's not a pretty story.
The evidence. You want me to make an act of faith, risking myself, my wife, my woman, my sister, my children, on some idealism which you assure me exists in America, which I have never seen.
It's devastating. To be a Black person in America, James Baldwin said, is to be in a nearly unending state of rage, to paraphrase him. And the rage grows from the inability of many of our white brothers and sisters to understand where we are, to put themselves in our, understand how time and again, with the murder of black people, with the hunting down of black people by white vigilantes, with a policeman willfully disregarding the pleas of a black man to breathe, treating him like an animal, why we feel, and it is not hyperbolic, that this country not only does not care, but treats us less than human.
We say their name to remind us of the reality. Sandra Bland, Stephen Clark, Philando Castile, Mike Brown, Alton Sterling, Tamara Rice, Freddie Gray, Walter Scott, Trayvon Martin, Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Eric Gardner, and George Floyd. We say their names.
When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and notions of what just is, isn't always just is.